Zero to hero. That pretty much describes Neville Longbottom's character development in the original Harry Potter book and film series. From being one step removed from a squib to killing Voldemort's snake Nagini at the Battle of Hogwarts, Neville is one of the most compelling character arcs in the franchise. But what did he do after Deathly Hallows? Well, that's what we're here to find out, folks. Before we begin, subscribe to CBR and ring that bell to join our notification squad so you never miss a video. Without further ado, here's everything Neville Longbottom has been up to since Deathly Hallows.
Supposed to stroke it.
Became a Hogwarts professor. In both the books and the movies, Neville is portrayed as bumbling, nervous, and bad at magic. As a result, he's much more susceptible to Draco Malfoy's bullying than Harry, Ron, or Hermione are. He's timid and shy. That makes him seem like an ill match for Gryffindor House, where dwell the brave at heart. His first year is plagued with mishaps, like melting Seamus Finnegan's cauldron in their first potions lesson with Snape. During his first flying lesson, he immediately loses control of his broom and goes flying off, before falling to the ground outside the castle, breaking his wrist. When Malfoy finds Neville's Remembrall, a glass ball that reminds you of daily tasks, he carries it away on his broomstick. Harry chases after him, unwittingly auditioning for the Gryffindor Quidditch team. He makes it, spoilers. In his third year, Neville loses all of the passwords to Gryffindor Tower, which he'd kept on a piece of parchment. That led Sirius Black to break into the dormitory in his quest to kill Peter Pettigrew, disguised as Ron's pet rat Scabbers. He's a good rat, Scabbers. But there's one thing Neville excels at beyond any of his classmates: herbology. He's the only one of his class to get an outstanding herbology owl, which is why after the Deathly Hallows, he becomes Hogwarts' new herbology teacher, replacing Pomona Sprout by the year 2017. At the beginning of that year's school term, Ginny tells her and Harry's son James to give Neville their love, to which he replies, "Mum, I can't give our professor love."
Neville Longbottom, is it? How's Mum and Dad?
Better now they're about to be a ven.
Became an Auror. One of the things that makes Neville so compelling as a character is the way we learn about his past trauma. What comes off as nervous and shyness turns out to be a serious case of post-traumatic stress disorder. In Book 4, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, we learn that Neville's parents were tortured into insanity by Death Eaters Bellatrix Lestrange, her husband Rudolphus, and Rudolphus's brother Rabastic. That's why Neville lives with his vain, austere grandmother Augusta. Augusta constantly chides Neville for failing to live up to his parents. Both Alice and Frank Longbottom were powerful Aurors, and member of the Order of the Phoenix, both of which made them prime targets for the Death Eaters. So when Bellatrix escapes Azkaban with 9 other Death Eaters and Harry Potter in the Order of the Phoenix, Neville changes. He redoubles his efforts to improve his defensive magic skills during the secret practice sessions held by Dumbledore's army, a clandestine defense club started by Hermione and run by Harry. By the end of the book, he's helping Harry, Ron, Hermione, Ginny, and Luna Lovegood fight their way through the Department of Mysteries at the Ministry of Magic. As his skills grow, so does his confidence. Attaboy, Neville! He goes on to lead a secret resistance group against Snape's tenure as headmaster in Deathly Hallows, and even kills Nagini, Voldemort's pet snake, and the second to last Horcrux. The last is Harry himself. So it's no surprise that Neville, along with Harry and Ron, go on to become Aurors after the Battle of Hogwarts. None of them have an official newt in defense against the dark arts, but Master Kingsley Shacklebolt grants Auror status to all interested students who survived the Battle of Hogwarts. Ultimately, though, Neville's true passion is for herbology, his best subject at Hogwarts, and he eventually becomes the school's herbology teacher. It's Professor Longbottom to you, sir.
Because you're wrong. Harry's heart did beat for us. For all of us.
Got married. Pick a Harry Potter character besides Ron, who you would assume would be left behind by the wizarding dating scene. If you only read the first few books, you might be tempted to pick Neville. To his credit, he works up the gumption to ask out Ginny Weasley during the Yule Ball in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, though she makes it clear they're just friends. Point is, J.K. Rowling did her best to portray Neville as lacking confidence to a pathological degree. Not the most attractive trait? Ladies? Yeah. But as we touched on in the intro, Neville has one of the most dramatic character arcs in the book. By the end, he defeated Voldemort's snake Nagini, the last Horcrux besides Harry himself. At the end of the Deathly Hallows film, we see Neville chilling out at the Gryffindor table with the sword of Gryffindor next to him. Neville's ballin' over there. Neville would go on to marry Hannah Abbott, a Hufflepuff in his year, who served as prefect along with Ernie Macmillan. Hannah, for her part, would go on to briefly become the school matron, replacing Madame Poppy Pomfrey for a short period. We say short period because Madame Pomfrey appears in Cursed Child, repairing Albus Potter's arm. However, that might only apply to the temporary alternate reality Albus created with his time-traveling mischief. Oh, Albus. In Cursed Child, he and his best friend Scorpius Malfoy travel back in time with a stolen time turner, all in an attempt to prevent the death of Cedric Diggory. We don't see the hospital wing in the normal timeline in Cursed Child, so it's possible Abbott really is the school's matron after all.
Oh my god! I've killed Harry Potter!
Lives in the Leaky Cauldron. The Leaky Cauldron is a pub and inn for wizards in London. To muggles, it looks like an abandoned storefront on Charing Cross Road. In actuality, it serves as the gateway between Muggle London and Diagon Alley, the wizarding commercial district and the home of Gringotts Bank. It's in the Leaky Cauldron that Harry Potter first gets a taste of how famous he is in the magical community. Oh my god, it's Harry Potter! In Sorcerer's Stone, the whole establishment goes quiet, and all eyes turn to Harry when Hagrid brings him in. In Book 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry stays there after escaping the Dursleys on the night bus. The place is owned by Tom the Barman, who is depicted in the films as a pale hunchback. It's a well-known wizarding establishment, often crowded during good times, but business gets slower once everyone is aware of Voldemort's return in Books 6 and 7. We don't actually see Neville Longbottom at the Leaky Cauldron during any point in the books or movies, but we do know that after Hogwarts, his wife Hannah Abbott took over as the pub's landlord. Living in a pub? That sounds great, sign me up. Ultimately, however, she retired in favor of becoming the Hogwarts matron, replacing Madame Pomfrey for a time. Neville's students thought him living in a pub was pretty cool.
And I believe you live with your grandmother.
Yes, but I don't want that boggart to turn into her either.
No.
Kept his DA coin. In Book 5, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry and his friends find themselves facing a serious challenge. Few are prepared to believe Harry that Voldemort is back, but even the skeptics can't stand the school's new defense against the dark arts teacher, Dolores Umbridge. She's been placed at Hogwarts on the order of Cornelius Fudge. Fudge. Minister of Magic. Her job is to water down the defensive education of Hogwarts students, as Fudge believes Dumbledore will use these students to take over the ministry and depose him. Clever Hermione Granger hatches a plan to conduct real defensive classes in secret under the instruction of Harry himself. They call this club Dumbledore's Army, an ironic jab at Fudge's ill-founded paranoia. To ensure complete secrecy, Hermione enchants a bunch of fake gold coins, or galleons, that can be used by different DA members to communicate lesson times, like a magical encrypted instant message app. You've got mail. Magic mail. Neville is one of the first to join up, and years later he still has his DA coin. As professor of herbology at Hogwarts, he can't help but impress his students by flashing that coin. The DA, after all, is just as famous as its original members.
And he killed a basilisk with the sword in Dumbledore's office.
It's true.
No kids. In the epilogue of Deathly Hallows, all of our main characters have children. Harry and Ginny have James, Lily, and Albus. Ron and Hermione have Rose and Hugo. Draco has Scorpius, who will go on to become Albus's best friend in the play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Bill and Fleur have a daughter named Victoire, who becomes the girlfriend of Teddy Lupin, son of the deceased Remus Lupin, and Nymphadora Tonks. So what about Neville and Hannah Abbott? Well, they didn't have any kids of their own, and we don't exactly know why. Maybe it's just a personal choice. Maybe one or both are cursed with some sort of wizardly sterility, or most likely J.K. Rowling didn't want to write them in. Neville is barely mentioned in Cursed Child. It's possible that she and her co-writers, Jack Thorne and John Tiffany, just didn't want to deal with the added complication of including yet another main character from the original series, in spite of the fact that he's the herbology teacher. Obviously, if he and Hannah had children, it would be hard to have them not interact with Albus and Scorpius. Writing is harder than it looks, especially when you're dealing with all the complex ins and outs of a Harry Potter story. Dropping Neville and his kids may have been necessary in order to make Cursed Child work. Sorry, Longbottom, you're out!
Don't be such a wimp, Longbottom.
Drinks too much? We can't really confirm this one because it comes to us courtesy of Rita Skeeter, the most successful yellow journalist in magical history. How she ever managed to maintain a career as a respected reporter is beyond anyone's explanation, but J.K. Rowling was trying to lampoon British tabloids, which are far more popular than their trashy counterparts in the rest of the English-speaking world. We first meet Rita in Book 4, Goblet of Fire, when she pulls Harry into a closet to conduct an interview. Instead of recording his answers with her signature quick quotes quill, she invents a narrative of an attention-hungry boy who is the opposite of the Harry we know, and insinuates that he's dating Hermione. Hermione, for her part, discovers that Rita is an animagus who can transform into a bug, and that she hasn't registered her transformational powers with the Ministry. Hermione later blackmails Rita into doing an honest interview with Harry in the Order of the Phoenix. But in Deathly Hallows, she goes all in for Voldemort, defaming Dumbledore with a partially true exposé about the late headmaster's dark secrets. And years later, she's still around, defaming the adults who irked her as children, including Neville. While reporting on the DA reunion at the 2014 Quidditch World Cup, she claims that he and Hannah Abbott drink too much fire whiskey. But as Rita is a notorious liar, it's impossible to confirm her reporting. Became a godfather. Neville and his wife, Hannah Abbott, never end up having children of their own, but Harry Potter and Ginny Weasley definitely do. They end up having 3, James, Lily, and Albus. But Harry himself never had a father, and every father figure he tried to cultivate died, one after the other. That includes Sirius Black, his godfather. Black's death in Order of the Phoenix is one of the hardest events Harry has to cope with in the original series, so as an adult he makes Neville Longbottom godfather to his younger son Albus. Why he picks Neville is unclear, though it's likely due to the fact that, alone amongst Harry's old friends, Neville is childless. But we never see Neville interact with Albus in the play Cursed Child. That could have been interesting, or it might have sidetracked the plot. In fact, Neville doesn't appear at all in the Cursed Child, which suggests J.K. Rowling and her writing partners couldn't find a use for him as a character.
He's back.
Reunites with the DA. Dumbledore's army is Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville's response to the arrival of Dolores Umbridge at Hogwarts. Installed by Minister Cornelius Fudge, who serves as defense against the dark arts teacher in their 5th year, cruel beneath her overly sweet demeanor, she waters down the defense curriculum in the belief that its true purpose is to train insurgents who will help Dumbledore seize power in the Ministry. Dumbledore's army serves as a secret training club for those who want genuine anti-dark arts instruction. Members, including Neville, go on to resist Voldemort and help defeat his army at the Battle of Hogwarts. Years later, in 2014, they all reunite at the 427th Quidditch World Cup in the Patagonian Desert. Of course, Rita Skeeter, magical hack journalist extraordinaire, did everything she could to cast the reunion in a negative light. Damn paparazzi.
Dumbledore's army was supposed to be about doing something real. Or was that all just words to you?
Matthew Lewis's post-Potter career. Matthew Lewis is always an interesting choice for Neville Longbottom. Neville is always portrayed as shorter and fatter than his friends in the books, but in real life, Lewis is actually taller. And no, those aren't his real teeth. To keep up Neville's chubby appearance, Lewis had to wear a fat suit in the film before Deathly Hallows. Lewis really disappeared into the role because in real life, he's a strapping, handsome guy. He plays a buff bomb disposal corporal in Bluestone 42, a BBC show set in Afghanistan. In the film Me Before You, he plays the main character's longtime boyfriend, who trains her for a so-called Viking triathlon in Norway. In the 2018 show Girlfriends, he plays Tom, a jailbird who ends up sleeping with Phyllis Logan's character's daughter. He also plays a police inspector on the show Ripper Street. Quite the resume, Longbottom. Well done! Actors and actresses who play the comic relief often get typecast in their careers. Just ask Jason Alexander, who played George Costanza on Seinfeld. These pretzels are making me thirsty! We're happy Matthew Lewis has expanded his horizons after Deathly Hallows. And that's all for Neville Longbottom's experiences after Deathly Hallows. What do you think? Any Potterheads out there who think we missed any important Neville knowledge? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR. Thanks for watching!